Welcome back, everyone. So, just a bit of a beginner's guide for Fallout 4 Survival Mode. So, obviously, it's been about a year since the Fallout TV series came out. I think it's this year we're getting the second season. So, obviously, I probably should have done this guide when the first season came out. But obviously, the second season, when that comes out, people will be either coming back to Fallout 4 again for a bit, or they'll be still here because of the first season. So, yes, if you haven't played Fallout 4 Survival Mode, definitely recommend it. I kind of think this is how Fallout should have been, personally. It makes the game so much better. But anyway, let's get into it. So, for the first... Or actually, before we do get in it, I will just quickly explain. So yes, this guide, essentially two parts. Where to find things early game, and then sort of tips and tricks, so to speak, for doing stuff early game. I will be having separate videos for each subject when it comes to stuff like settlements, food and drink, companions, armor, weapons, all that type of stuff. So that will be in separate videos just to cut down on the time to watch, and obviously so you can find the very specific subject you want to find. So anyway, let's get into this. So kind of the most important thing to figure out when you first start the game is, do you go with Nate or Nora? Now, the only real difference is the Lady Killer and Black Widow perks. Now, obviously with those, the main difference there is you do get better pricing. I'm quite sure it is. I would admit I haven't looked at Black Widow or Lady Killer for a while. But primarily what people pick it for is the more damage, as most... I'm not exactly sure on the exact number, but I'd probably say, at least in Raiders, it's about, I reckon, about 70 to 80% of them are always male. And when it comes to stuff like gunners, I'd probably have to say, I think it's a bit more even. But as is, I can't exactly say on that. So it's as is, most of the time it's going to be a male, either raider or gunner. So if you want the extra damage, then that's where you make that sort of decision. If you're not worried about picking up that perk, then obviously play whichever character you want. So with this first part, this will be sort of coming out of the vault, or what you can find sort of as you're going through and as you're starting the game. So inside the vault, the very most important thing, you can find 7 beer bottles in the vault kitchen. Now, there is the taps in that kitchen. You can fill these up. Always keep empty bottles. No matter what they are, what type of bottles, you can't use cups or mugs. But if it's an empty Nuka-Cola bottle or a beer, any type of alcohol bottle, always keep them, never scrap them. Have them in a separate container, something like that. You don't want to use them for that reason. They can be turned essentially into purified water. Really good. Then coming out of the vault, in the little security sort of terminal thing to the... Technically, it's to your right as you're coming out of the vault. It's the one on your left when you're going into the vault for the first time. You can find 1 Nuka-Cola and 2 bottles of, or 2 empty bottles of Nuka-Cola. And when you just head down just slightly from that part, down the path you go up. So you're essentially backtracking how you got up there in the first place. But yeah, going down to Sanctuary, you'll find one bit of cram. And that's about all the food and drink you can kind of find there, so to speak. But there will be some more at Sanctuary. But before you do go to Sanctuary, the best thing to do, now we'll have this on the map, is to go to Sunshine's Tidings Co-op for the Wasteland Survival Guide 9. So what this does, and this is why you want this essentially as early in the game as you can get, because with this you get 1 extra bit of meat from animal kills. Now, some animals it does work, some it doesn't. Mirelurks, for the example, I believe it is the soft shell Mirelurks, I think it might be. I'm quite sure it is. I think you get 2 Mirelurk meat and 1 soft shell Mirelurk meat. So there are a few enemies that they don't completely drop the 2 meat, unfortunately. Now, obviously, this stuff for that, there will be obviously some enemies in Sanctuary, but we'll get that in a minute. So once you've gone there, you want to run back to Sanctuary. You don't want to exactly be there for too long. I will also show you on here. I'll try and draw it up. There is the sort of path on the left when you're going to Sunshine Tidings Co-op. You don't. You do want to go on the left, but there will be Mirelurks. If you go on the right, where there's sort of like a bridge, you can get a random encounter. Now, throughout the years, I have had... It's usually either Raiders, Gunners, or Super Mutants. I believe you could get the occasional Death Claw. So yes, there are a few things, and that's also, again, why you don't really want to be away from Sanctuary early game, because obviously you're going to be very squishy. That's kind of a big thing for survival mode, is the damage difference. So I'll be sort of touching on that probably later for one of the other sort of tips. But anyway, yes, when you get back to Sanctuary, as long as you don't run into anything, so you can go to Codsworth. There is a option where, I believe I'll have it up on the screen if I did get a clip of it, where you can ask him about some food. I think it's before you can ask to search the neighborhood. So what you do want to do is essentially get that food, because I think it's like one box of sugar bombs. Practically any food is essentially what you want to get. So once you get that, obviously you want to then go ask Codsworth to do the look around for bloatfly stuff, because with them you get a bit of extra meat, obviously from that the Wasteland Survival Guide 9. So that's why you want to actually head there first for that reason. There's about 6 bloatflies, 3 in the first building, 3 in the next. Sometimes one may wander off. So you want to be careful on that, because when you just walk around Sanctuary by yourself, or if Codsworth is nowhere to be found, and you've either unloaded all your stuff in your workshop, you don't want to be caught out with a bloatfly, because those can very quickly kill you in survival mode, early game especially. And also, yes, there is some rad roaches. Those are when you're heading out from Sanctuary, which we'll be talking about for this next part. So you can find about 2 to 3 of them. 1 to 2 of them will come out from the house, sort of as you're going across the bridge. On the left where there's the cooking pot, and then there will be 1 to the right side in the torn down house that can come out. Sometimes that's bugged. Ironically enough, the bug will be bugged and it won't come out from that house until you scrap it. So just this one thing to note. Weapon caches. This is a very good thing to get early game, actually. So early game cache, you can find a duffel bag at the Minuteman statue heading to Red Rocket. Now this, most of the time, will usually have a pipe pistol. Pipe pistols are probably one of the best weapons early game, obviously, because they're very easy to mod. Their damage is pretty good, obviously, with the damage modifier for survival mode. Turn that into a suppressed sniper or a pistol, you're good to go. Actually, I haven't even put on this actually about builds, but again, that will be in a separate video again. So next weapon cache, so there's got 2 more. Next one is a 44 pistol. Now, obviously, you don't have too many rounds of ammo for this, unfortunately, but this can make or break a fight. So with this, what you want to go is essentially from the Minuteman statue. So if you're actually looking at the actual bag, you just want to walk left and then just go straight down the river, or walk along the river until you find a water pump. Then all you want to do is sort of follow that up, and there will sometimes be mole rats that will spawn, depending on, I've noticed, depending on where they've actually spawned at, they might burst out of the ground at you. Sometimes they're a little bit further down. It honestly all depends, but you've got a 50-50 sort of chance of a mole rat or a few mole rats spawning, but you can get the 44 pistol and usually a few rounds of ammo. I'm quite sure there's usually a little bit of food and drink around there. And the last one, sort of last one, is the Fat Man and a Mini Nuke. Now, this is really good early game if you want to take on the Deathclaw early. So where you can find this is at the, and again, these are all really close together, is at the robotics disposal grounds, is where the Fat Man Mini Nuke is. So you'll find the, well, so they're essentially pretty close together. The Fat Man, I grabbed it the other day when I was writing this stuff down and that. It should be either on the green chest next to the sentry bot, or either in it or on it, or it might be behind it. I'll have a picture up of that. And the Mini Nuke will be actually at a cage, a cage gate type of thing, sort of to the, would it be, I suppose, technically north. So sort of as you'll see the gate pretty much. It's kind of hard to miss in a way. The Mini Nuke is, but the gate part isn't. Now, in terms of weight, because this is where it's really important. So the Fat Man will weigh 30.7 weight. I don't know why I didn't put it at 30, but anyway. And the Mini Nuke itself comes in at a whopping 12 weight. So we have a combined weight of 42. Oh, wait, no, hold on. 42. No, that should be, actually, wait, no, no, I'm reading stuff wrong, yeah, so 42.7, weight, and there is about, I don't know if I'll have this clipped or not, but there's about 7 odd mole rats, and sometimes well, for me, they didn't actually come out of the ground. I actually vatsed around there, and they popped, well, actually, they didn't pop out of the ground, but the vats popped into the ground. And I saw them there, so that's something else to note, is obviously you can have mole rats spawn there. I don't remember, so I don't really go for that Mini Nuke and Fat Man practically ever, because again, I don't really do the Deathclaw stuff until later on, but as is each to their own for it. As is, if you do want to get that stuff down out of the way, obviously go do that. Personally, I wouldn't. You want to try and stock up on healing supplies and all that stuff. Obviously, that will be food and drink. Try not to take any stim packs or rat away in this, but as is, that stuff we'll explain in another video. And so that is essentially all the where to find sort of early game stuff. There may be more stuff, but is this sort of the stuff, minus the Fat Man and Mini Nuke, the other stuff, essentially all the stuff I normally do. So obviously each to their own on how they want to play and that, but as is, that's how I like to play. Honestly, I don't remember if there is any other stuff around. If there is stuff I have forgotten or I haven't put in here, in terms of like weapon stashes early game, put a comment in, please do, to let everyone else know. And that, as is, I've played a lot of Fallout, but obviously there are things I'm going to forget. So anyway, getting on to the few sort of tips and tricks. Pretty obvious one is obviously save at every bed. Now, how this bed stuff saving works is obviously in survival mode you can only save at a bed, but there is a quote-unquote glitch that you can do with the bed stuff, because if you only sleep for like 1 hour, you will normally get a fatigue, what do you call it, like the debuff for fatigue. So obviously you don't want that. So what you can do is, pretty much the second you click to sleep, you click what's A and B on console or on Xbox. But so you're saying you essentially click to sleep and straight away exit out. If you do it quick enough, it will save the game, but you won't actually sleep, so you get no debuff. Absolutely amazing. Obviously, as is, you want to save at every bed for that reason. That's the only way you can save. I only actually found out about this not too long ago. I was always sleeping and then losing the sleep thing. I can and will admit that. I only found out that not too long ago. So that's where it's kind of funny, as is I've played survival mode a bit, but as is, there's still stuff I still learn. Next one is always have extra food and pretty drink. So obviously with that, it will be more in the video for food and drink, but essentially if you're a little bit hungry or thirsty, you will, how do I explain it? If you're at something that might give you, say, +1 strength, you won't pretty much get the +1 strength. You have to be fully fed to get those buffs, pretty much is how that stuff works, which I can understand that in a way. It does obviously make you want to eat lower level food, so to speak, as is, are we getting that more? Obviously, what's best, as is with that stuff, naturally, just because one food gives the most food, it may not, or it may be, gives you the best buffs, may not technically be the best food. So this is just one thing to note. Travel light. So obviously with this, you want to try and travel as light as you can, as is we're going in probably the weapon and armor video sort of thing, which obviously traveling light, you want to take very little ammo, armor and weaponry, healing supplies, all that stuff. This is obviously why as later on you want to try and get all settlements and stuff. Take it slow and plan your trip. This is a very big thing. Most people think, all right, I'll just go run straight to Diamond City. You could, but the thing is as well, legendary enemies spawn a lot more. So it's all well and good to do that, but if you've got, just say for an instance, you decide to do that, you've just taken on Concord and you haven't saved for a bit, say you haven't saved until the Red Rocket and you've just done all that, you think you'll go make a quick trip down to Diamond City and you get one-shotted by a sniper with a 2-shot or an instigating sniper rifle, yeah, you're not going to have very much fun. So just one thing to note on that one. Take it slow and easy. As is just plain trip. I will discuss in another video about if you should, well, pretty much you do want to go at night time because enemies do have a lower perception at night pretty much, or they're supposed to, but you do have also other dangers. So that's just one thing to note. Specifically Death Claws and Rad Scorpions. And as I sort of said earlier about claiming settlements, so you primarily want to try and claim all settlements, obviously, so you've always got a bed somewhere and a food supply. You don't actually have to build them up. You just need to put a bed and, I don't know, well, if you do have to have a settler, what you can do, actually, I could go this bit. I'll be going this bit more on the settlement stuff. But if you set up a radio beacon at Sanctuary and you claim other settlements, you send only one settler to those other settlements. Now they could be attacked, so that's just one thing to note. But perhaps you have some crops at that settlement, and that one settler can take care of them. Each place you've always got food then. So that's the beauty of it. And last little tip for this is, don't bring companions early game. Now, I know some people probably think it's a bit sort of contradictory. Why would you not bring an extra gun or teeth in terms of dog meat early game? But companions cannot heal themselves in survival mode. They don't get up after fights, so you've got to heal them. Now, yes, you don't want to be using stim packs, so to speak, because they do heal a lot slower and give you debuffs, but as is, you don't want to be doing that because obviously you've either got to, or essentially A, heal them mid-battle for them to get back up, or you've got to try and, you usually do get a marker, I believe, when they go down, but then you're essentially going to be wasting stims and that, because as it's just a lot easier to keep them for yourself on the off chance you break a limb. That's usually when I use a stim pack, is if I break a limb from, say, Deathclaw or something. So that's just one thing to note. So yes, don't bring companions. Sorry to everyone, but especially not dog meat early game, especially because he will block you, and it is not fun when you're trying to run into a building with Deathclaw behind you and dog meat is just standing there. Not fun. So anyway, that's perhaps all of this. As is a bit longer a video than I thought it was going to be, but as is I'll be going and making all the other videos going in depth on all that stuff for that reason. So everyone's having to skip back and forth between this stuff. As is, I do like to explain stuff so thoroughly. Sort of things. That is why I'm going to be making each individual piece for that. And as I did say earlier, so everyone can find the exact bit of information that they essentially are looking for. And I hope one has enjoyed, and that this will help enough people when they step into the wasteland in survival mode. As is great mode, can't recommend enough. It is definitely how I think Fallout 4 should have always been. But anyway, other than that, I hope one has enjoyed, and I shall see everybody next time.